Hi, welcome to Bathtub, where when you hear this sound effect,
Super Smash Brothers win!
you know it's another episode of what we used to call, I think what we call, a Battle of the Bathtubs. It's a Battle of Bathtubs. They come out wrestling and fighting, and this time this is a bathtub melee. We're going to have three different entrants into this melee battle between at least three super bathtub greats. Writers we love in the bathtub. Who are they? You never heard me talk about George Simenon, but if you haven't heard me talk about George Simenon, you haven't been watching this stupid show. John D. MacDonald, Travis McGee, and Rex Stouts, Nero Wolfe. All three of them are going to be battling and fighting like good versus evil or something, or evil versus good. Not that bad. Anyway, these are three different writers. I'm kind of doing a bunch of these things quickly because, as usual, I get these books and they start stacking up, and I forget to do this thing. I have to say, this lighting, this natural lighting, I sometimes when my old videos show up, they show up literally on my TV screen because of the YouTube connection, and this is horribly splotchy. I look like I just came out of the crypt. Anyway, the natural light of day, I have to say, the cruel light of day brings out my normal awfulness instead of some of those horrible, where I tried to light this thing properly. I looked like I was shimmering with, I looked like some sort of monster out of Star Trek. Anyway, enough about me. I love Nero Wolfe. You know it. We all know it. We all love Nero Wolfe. One of the books I really enjoyed is what I like these three. I like my favorites of the Nero Wolfe are the three short novel volumes. I've been working my way through his stuff because I read him so much over the years. I sometimes read these books sequentially to catch up and make sure I didn't miss any because I never know I can never remember which ones I read and which ones I didn't. This is one thing about kind of certain types of serial fiction and genre fiction that I just forget. I forget them almost within weeks of having read them. Anyway, these three are pretty good. It's not my favorite of the Nero Wolfe series so far. The first one is kind of fun. It's about, obviously, there's a big... whenever Nero Wolfe has dinner and somebody dies, he gets very upset because they ruined his dinner. So someone gets poisoned at some dinner. And the second one, there's a taxi driver. She gets killed. I'm going to try to make some general premises about why I like one writer more than all the others. And the writer I like most is Simenon. There's something about good mystery novels and whoever's writing them where often, as soon as they get to the point where we're actually solving the crime, I could care less who killed them. I often find myself skimming. I don't even care who killed Roger Ackroyd. I never could care. But as long as the characters are fun, and the fun part, of course, of Nero Wolfe is him and Archie playing off each other, and Archie annoying. I think Archie quits. I think in the second story, he actually quits and walks out at the door, and gets his own case, and that's the stuff that's really fun. And then all of Nero Wolfe's, like his cook and the guy who works, Theodore, who works in the orchid room, and their relationship with the police. It's all kind of repeated, but it's always fun, and that's what I like about it. This book had a little less of that, so that's probably my favorite. John D. MacDonald. We're big fans of John D. MacDonald here. We have a lot of bathing buddies. Cheers. Fresh, non-pixelated water. John D. MacDonald's Travis McGee series. I like Travis McGee series are kind of some of the best written detective series I think ever published in America in many ways. Just the prose, paragraph by paragraph, is sort of brilliant. I again, just like I often find myself about halfway, 2/3 of the way through these books, I start to lose a little interest in them. I just want Travis McGee to save the girl or have revenge. Usually, he has revenge on somebody. His buddy, an old buddy of his, gets murdered, and someone else gets murdered, and he has to go out and avenge himself against the basically there's like a pornographic ring that steals stuff, and the Cuban mafia sort of group. I'm almost. I don't mean to belittle it in a way, because just paragraph by paragraph, scene by scene, some beautiful writing, lots of passages I kept marking that I wanted to read just to give a flavor of his stuff. This one has a little bit of the Mickey Spillane, the cruel. He's going to go out and actually he sometimes tortures people in the course of the book, or emotionally tortures them when they're evil. and they're involved in evil. So he's okay about that. He doesn't do like Mickey Spillane, who like Mike Hammer actually torture them and stuff like that. But he he scares this one woman to think he's going to kill her and so forth. So he's kind of getting revenge for the horrible things these people have done. There's so much good writing here. I'll just read one little passage, how he can introduce a character in one paragraph. And don't even need to give context because we get right into the character. We see the character as soon as he shows up in the scene. Professor Warner B. Gifford was a fat, sloppy, untidy young man. He was not the tenant the architects had in mind when they had designed that particular building for Florida Southwestern. The building, I guessed, was for a dynamic, scholastic living, for communications courses, whatever they are, for machines to grade multiple-choice questions, for that curious union of Madison Avenue, the NAM, foundation monies, and the education of the pre-adjusted young, which successfully emasculates all the factors thereof. He's very critical of post-war American society, this kind of deflavorizing of society. It was a building to house the men who could turn out fabulous technicians with that contempt for every other field of human knowledge which only the truly ignorant can achieve. It was a place to train ants to invent insecticides. That's a great line. He has one paragraph. I think he writes some of the best paragraphs around, and they're kind of a little bit, the evil bad guy's got to be killed and so forth. And I kind of lose a little interest in him. My favorite writer. I just want to say a few things about why I've already selected this as my favorite. I read 2 Simenon novels about a month or 2 ago and never got to them. So I'm reading my way through Maigret Hesitates, Maigret and Vichy. These are some of the late volumes from the originally published in French in the 60s. As I've said, I really love his books after the war. The post-war Maigrets are much better than the earlier ones, and they get better and better all the way up through the 60s and 70s, as I recall. Anyway, these are 2 great ones. Just to get to recapitulate what I continue. This whole show should be exercises in recapitulation because I just say the same things over and over. I read these about a month or 2 ago, and when I picked them up, I couldn't remember the plots at all. I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't remember anything that happened. I couldn't remember why he was in Vichy or any of that stuff. I actually had to look up a couple of summaries to remind me of what the books are. Now, that is not simply that I'm an old fart who's losing his memory. I've always been like that with a lot of the Maigrets, and I picked them up, and I'll pick them up once. I think in an earlier one, I picked one of these up and had just read it a month or 2 ago. They're so structured in a certain way, and the pleasures of them have so nothing to do with the plot. All about Maigret investigating someone and getting to know someone, and every scene is interesting. Whether he's ordering some food or he's going to have dinner with his wife or he's meeting the neighbors for dinner, every scene is interesting because it brings out something about Maigret and his interest in other people. I mean, for example, Maigret and Vichy they're very much about the formula of his life. So unlike the thrillers where people basically become unhinged and lose the normal routines of their life and go off into some crazy relationship or get involved in a murder or violence, Maigret is this very routine guy who goes through the same thing every day. And in Maigret and Vichy, he's been ill, so he goes to Vichy to take the waters for several weeks, and he has to eat healthy, and he can't drink and smoke, and he goes through the daily routine, and that's Simenon's territory. All these people going through these daily routines, and in the course of his time in Vichy, he notices this one woman by herself, an older woman, very lonely, very alone, not lonely, alone. And he and his wife find her interesting because she's different from all the other people with their families and their routines and so forth. And she gets killed. She dies. Now, the whole book is about him finding out about this woman's past, her history, her sister, and this kind of the solution to the mystery and the daily routines that Maigret is going through. And I just find him just totally absorbing. And nothing feels dishonest. You never feel like you're caught as you are in a normal mystery novel in a kind of routine where the solution has to come now. Yes, you do know we're going to find out the murderer, but the solution is not who did it. It's what we call them why-done-its. Aren't they called why-done-its? Anyway, it's more like you kind of understand something about the victim and the person who killed that person. The other one I really loved both of these. Maigret Hesitates. For example, he gets a letter. Each book starts with a kind of a hook that's a little different from any other one. And Maigret gets a letter telling him that someone's going to be murdered in this house. He goes to the house, and the patriarch is a very short man who's a lawyer, who is fascinated, who loves Maigret. He's been like collecting articles about Maigret all his life. He's really interested in crime, and he's interested in who is guilty. If someone's insane when they commit a crime, are they guilty of the crime? So there's one idea in almost every one of these books that Maigret kind of pursues, and the characters are pursuing, and then when the crime comes along, it's just an incident along the way towards trying to understand this one thing. Most of the relationships between people are about power and sex. They're very simplistic human relationships, and yet they all kind of work in this universe of Maigret. So anyway, Far and Away, Bathing Buddies. These guys battle the other guys. They're very good, all good writers. We enjoy them all at different times. But I've tried to explain to you for probably the 100th time why I particularly like the Maigrets. And as far as a time in the bathtub, I can't think of a better book. Okay, stay safe. We're doing a few of these very quick today, because the bird cage is clean. Yes.